Did you know that we had a secretary of post-education, post-secondary, the guy who runs the colleges? Well, he's here tonight.
The Dan Yorke State of Mind program is brought to you in part by Lookout Rhode Island and Takeo Comfort Solutions.
So at first glance, you'd think, well, we don't have enough people with college degrees in this state. There's probably some context that needs to be offered there, and we're going to have Dr. Jim Purcell in here to talk to us about that. He is, I would say, the new Postsecondary Education Commissioner, but he's been around here a year and a half because he probably has learned by now, coming from Louisiana, that you've just stopped by in Rhode Island in 18 months, 2 years. That's, heck, you know, I've been on the radio 16 years here. You people think I just checked into a hotel. So I know what it's like. I know what it's like with you stubborn Southern New Englanders, for God's sake, but I deal with you, you deal with me. What are we going to do? Everybody good? All right, good. Rainy days and Tuesdays don't get us down. Let's go to the rundown and just kind of check on a couple of things that are happening in the world. I want to take some quality time with our guests because there's a lot of smart things to be talking about here. This ain't so smart. It's a gross exaggeration, and it's really stupid on the part of the mayor of the city of Providence. Here's the headline that came to the Providence Journal today. Allures of surging deficits a threat. And there's other headlines, too, that kind of surround this whole thing. You know, all sorts of attention being drawn to his, I don't know what he's doing with the numbers. If he doesn't understand the numbers, and he's the guy who's got to fix the numbers, that's a big problem, right? This comes from the story in the Journal today, talking about expenditures, the deficit, I should say the revenue expenditure difference, which of course is a deficit, adding to $176 million by the year 2026. Now, I didn't do investigations math, I do the old math, but in my head I can figure out that's 10 years from now. When I read the story today, I thought to myself, no, wait a second. Providence is in bad shape, I know, but they're going to accumulate $176 million worth of debt in 10 years when the mayor is trying to suggest that we have a balanced budget this year with a trailing cash flow problem of $13 million? What is he trying to do? Well, I went to the guy that can explain it all to me. Dan McGowan, of course, is the WPRI.com blogger, reporter, and is the guru on news in Providence. He explained it to me on the radio today.
This number is basically, it's true that if you were to go for 10 years and run $176 million of deficits for that long, you would have what is called a cumulative deficit of that number. But that's very different than a yearly budget shortfall. The actual number is $37 million by fiscal year 2026. That would be their structural recurring deficit every year.
Look, there's no way that the city of Providence is ever going to get to anywhere close to $176 million. They're not going to get past $10 million of recurring debt without being shut down by the state any minute now. So I have no idea what the political or strategic or marketing benefit was for Jorge Alorza to sign onto this report and say, look, we're in so much trouble that we got to do X and Y and Z. First of all, what you ought to do is figure out how badly you screwed up the firefighter union deal, Mayor. Because that's probably going to cost you anywhere from 7 to 10 to maybe even $20 million, which of course is going to flush you right into bankruptcy. So don't worry about $176 million. You're going to go right into bankruptcy on that. And of course, that's a problem for the firefighter union as well, because if they go into bankruptcy, then the contracts get null and void. And what you've done with your move to go from 4 shifts to 3 shifts and all the restructuring you've done with that alone has put your city in financial jeopardy. Inmates running asylums, not a good situation for the city right now. But don't fret about $176 million. They'll never get there. They do have another problem, though, and the Associated Press has been reporting out on this, and it's not catching fire quite yet, but the lead volume in the Providence water system is at an exceedingly high level. I'm told that we shouldn't be worrying about Flint, Michigan-like stories quite yet, but this is lingering out there. The good thing is that the financial solution will be outside the Providence budget because this is a quasi-government agency that bills and spends its money separately. You may want a water filter, just saying. News out of Washington, Paul Ryan really doesn't want to be the president, okay? Headlines today in preview of the announcement and on our production deadline. Don't tell anybody, we record the show late afternoon. We were able to sneak this little excerpt in.
I do not want, nor will I accept the nomination for our party.
All I could think of is I do not like green eggs and ham. I do not want Sam I am. I do not want to be the president of the United States. Not now. Translation, he couldn't get there. Not with the turbulence in the party as it is. Not with the kind of pushback that would come with a out of the hat, hey, guess what? Paul Ryan will do it since you guys can't get along in Cleveland. There are three names that will be ending up as the nominee for the Republican presidential bid. And it's Trump, it's Cruz, and it's Kasich, and it ain't no more. So just do the math on that. Paul Ryan is no dummy. Unlike Trump's kids, who are complete idiots, obviously. I mean, were you kidding me? Did you see this? These two numb bunnies, whose dad is running for the presidency, did not remember to register to vote. Now that takes something special. Now, I could offer my own commentary on this. There's the Donald, of course, who is reportedly coming into Rhode Island on Friday, and all the world is going to stop, and they're trying to find a 5,000 to 7,000 person venue to do it, and kind of keep it to the last minute because they don't want all the protesters to. I don't know what the hell's going on with that. But anyway, can I just read this text I got from a semi-prominent Republican who sent this to me? I will not identify, but after learning that the two kids weren't registered to vote, he writes to me, Donald Trump announces for, this is my phone, I didn't even put it on the graphics, it was so top secret. Donald Trump announces for president on June 16, 2015. Two of his adult children who actively campaign for him daily and are educated at the University of Pennsylvania and Georgetown University, respectively, that would be respectively, failed to register as Republicans for the primary in their home state of New York by the required October 9th, 2015 deadline. Therefore, cannot vote in the primary for their father. They wonder then why many Republicans question the Trump's commitment to the party. What am I missing? I've been asking, what am I missing with this entire Trump candidacy? So I don't know how to answer that question, but that was a good text, don't you think?
One of them is registered.
Oh, that's right. One of them is Lexi, who finds the glass half full everywhere. Lexi, who thinks the world is a wonderful and safe place. Lexi, my producer, Lexi Chris, says, well, Donald Jr.'s, registered, so 1 out of 3 ain't bad. See? That's why I love working with her. Let's look at this headline right here, if we could, to introduce my guest. When we saw this, we kind of went, how come? I've been around enough to know that there's always a story behind the story, and we shouldn't jump ugly over numbers. Commissioner, welcome to the program.
Well, good to be here.
It is a pleasure to have you. What have you learned since coming from Louisiana about Rhode Island?
Well, definitely y'all speak differently. Certainly don't use the consonants that we use.
No,
So,
we do not.
the first year was really about transition, just understanding the language and really what the issues are. It is a very different dynamic for educating people here. In the South, a lot of the poor are rural. Here in Rhode Island, of course, they're all in the city. And basically different strategies to address those issues. And that's one of the reasons I came, is I've done that in a couple other states that were real rural communities, and now I get to try to work on it here.
You were battling with the governor down there in Louisiana, who, of course, was actually touted as a prominent Republican nominee possibility a little while back, Bobby Jindal, but he, cut his budget to smithereens, and you said enough of this nonsense?
Well, he cut the budget 70% in higher ed, increased tuition to match it, so they're actually, the campuses more or less ran, but it was very traumatic for the scholarship fund and those kind of things. But I will say that if you compare Louisiana to Rhode Island, they actually commit a good bit of money to higher education when you do the comparisons. They give $247 million for state scholarships for students. Pretty much everybody goes to college for free in Louisiana, and this state really doesn't invest hardly at all. $10 million, and that $10 million isn't from general revenue, it's from other revenue streams that are out there. So I think there's some things that we can learn from other states, and then others I think we're going to have to find the solution from within.
All right. Short answer, and then we'll elaborate after the break. This number about, which really caused us to bring you in here, and we're overdue, and I apologize because people need to know more about you and your thinking and your leadership. You worried about this number, about the number of people that have degrees in Rhode Island?
Certainly. We actually designed our strategic plan around these metrics. The Lumina Foundation comes out with these numbers every year. We've pinned our goal to get Rhode Island to the national average by 2025. But in order to do that, we're going to have to produce 1,900 more degrees a year, or at least have 1,900 more people stay in Rhode Island that have credentials at the associate or better. And so we've actually put a lot of activities in our work chest to make sure that kind of thing happens.
All right, when we come back, we'll break it down and figure out how to get to that goal. Stay with us. Rhode Island College, I believe, one of our, I have to tell you this, I really believe, and I've said this on this air and on the radio many times, you want value for education comparatively in New England, go to Rhode Island College. The tuition expense versus the return on investment if you want to be a nurse or a teacher or some lefty liberal sociologist, whatever, is phenomenal. Yes, Commissioner?
Yeah, it's the lowest tuition in the state for, or in the New England region for a regional university.
And good education.
Absolutely.
Good, solid faculty. Nursing. My daughter is of college age herself, and so I know a lot of her friends, and they go to schools for $50,000 and $60,000 to $70,000 a year for whatever for being a nurse. What? I mean, how do you return that investment in your career? People are going to be smart about where they go to school, don't you think?
Right. It's got to be a decision that looks at all the economics, and I think for Rhode Island, we've really got to get a lot more people into the mix, be supportive of the American dream when the American dream is out there for them. But in order for that to happen, they've got to have the education. All the good jobs are about post-secondary skills.
I don't want to miss this when we get into the data and some of the solutions that you're trying to provide to some of the trends. I don't want to put words in your mouth, so let me just ask the question. Your view of Rhode Island College, URI, to a certain extent, CCRI, of course, and the public's understanding of their value here in Rhode Island, and what can be let me lead you, and what can be a very self-deprecating place. Are these not jewels?
Yeah, these are actually great institutions. I think that's the one of the things that I can say, because this is my sixth state working in higher education, so I've got an opportunity to know good, bad, and ugly. All these institutions really do a great job of addressing the needs of the state. We need to do more of it. They've been underfunded for a long time, and we've got to address that particular issue to make sure that they can get us the number of people that are educated and skilled to make this economy rock and roll.
How do you know what's a dog and what's a terrific institution with all your experience? How would you know after X amount of evaluation time that this one's a stinker and this one's terrific?
Well, some of it's attention to detail, making sure that they follow the mission. You want for a flagship University of Rhode Island to have a lot of research, be very active in the national issues that are out there, and they've done a great job with that, oceanography, pharmacy, nursing, those kind of things. Engineering especially. So, and for a regional university, you want one that really does be successful.
Are you talking about URI or Rick and URI both?
Rhode Island College now.
Okay.
Rhode Island College actually has one of the highest graduation rates for Hispanic Latino in the country, was recognized for that, so they really understand the market that they serve.
Are they pushing them through or doing the right kind of thing? The diligence is there.
Diligence there, and then you can see that over time. It's not a blip in the radar. It's really concern about their population.
Without getting into all the nitty-gritties, Nancy Cariullo, the president there, she's on the way out. She's resigned. There's a little bit of turbulence. At some point we can get into that perhaps. I didn't bring you here for that. But both she and Dr. Dooley have done a pretty good job leading those two institutions, haven't they?
Right. I think both of them have. They do a great job of making sure that there's support externally for those institutions, and I think that's the most important thing for a president to do is be that outward face for the institutions, and I would praise both of them for their external efforts.
And CCRI fits in the picture how?
Well, they're a combination. One, they're an opportunity for people to go directly to a university after they do 2 years there, but also to help address the specific workforce needs that are out there. A lot of the futurists say that you have to address the needs of the state first to build that economy, and a lot of that is for the people that are going to stay here. And if you don't educate the people that are going to stay with at least an associate's degree, your economy is destined to have issues.
Please encourage the new leadership for CCRI to come here, because I've got a lot of questions about junior colleges or two-year institutions tend to be laughingstocks, depending on the community, and there's a lot of CCRI jokes that run around, but the versatility of that school to be able to, especially for kids who do not know what they want to do, get your prerequisites done at a discount price, have that diligence, and then be able to. What a smart thing when people are looking at the back end debt that looms. I think it's a terrific asset.
Right, and you'll find other states where actually the community college is probably the preferred location. Florida, for example, most of the students go to the community colleges first and then to the other universities.
That's a cultural difference.
It is a difference. And I think here we can help the individuals recognize that opportunity. One thing we've been doing is actually providing dual and concurrent enrollment to high school students while they're in school, in their high school, and that allows kids to know that they can go, and those offerings come from all three of our institutions. Really has made a big impact on people understanding that they actually have the skill sets that could be successful in a college setting.
All right, so let's get back to the original premise that we invited you for, and that is that Rhode Island adults with college degrees lowest in New England. I know we've got some slides in preparation for this. Can we put some of this stuff up, and Commissioner Purcell will kind of walk us through this. This is the 6-year grad rate for the big institutions, 3-year grad rate for CCRI. Tell me about what this means here.
Yeah, really, University of Rhode Island, I think, is in great shape on the graduation rates. Even Rick also for what we would consider a regional university. So their graduation rates are quite good. For CCRI, there's work to do, but to some extent, a lot of urban community colleges have the same kind of numbers. But the new president has made a commitment to really increase these numbers.
Why do we have 6 and 3 versus 4 and 2?
Yeah, it's.
It takes a long time these days.
Yes, sir, it does. A lot of it's scheduling, and that's one of the things we've put in one of our strategic plan is to optimize our ability to get students out in 4 years. So we actually have some metrics we're going to be tracking that, because it's additional cost to the state, additional cost to the individual.
All right, so without using any other graphics yet, we'll bring some more up in a second. What is the answer as to why Rhode Island is underperforming with the amount of adults with college degrees?
Well, I think the big thing is support. We went into the recession, and we're coming out a little bit slower. We've actually underfunded our state since 1963. We're just coming back to the level of state support that we had in 1964.
You keep going back to this. I mean, is this something that is, there aren't societal and cultural and socioeconomic and demographic trends that actually impact this? You think it's all about whether or not the state universities are actually getting more money?
Well, I think the big thing is actually investing in human capital rather than other things. And there's evidence historically that Rhode Island hasn't had to do that. We've had a lot of type jobs that were basically based by brawn, good work, and I think that we have good work ethic here, blue collar jobs. But now the blue collar jobs require credentials in addition to that, so that's where we've got to be. And I think the other thing is we've spent a lot of time training a lot of individuals without getting a recognized credential, and what that means is when businesses want to come here, they only look at those metrics that they can see from national data like the Lumina report, and so they may not look at Rhode Island as an option, whereas we have a lot of skilled people. We're doing a lot of effort now to try to get people to have some college back to school, and also trying to credential a lot of the industry credentials that are out there for college.
All right, so for somebody sees a headline, they just go, Rhode Island's just dumber.
Absolutely not. I think we've actually provided the workers that are market required, but the world's changed. And when Governor Raimondo ran for governor, that was her big thing, is that we've got to really create a workforce. And in order to do that, we've got to rethink higher education, and that's what we've been doing. She's refocused on scholarships, increased the dollar value for scholarships in this state by 25%. It's still not as much as, like I gave, for example, for Louisiana, but it's getting in that direction. We've tried to make dual enrollment and concurrent enrollment be available in every high school. We're over 90% now in making that happen. So there is a commitment, plus even just state support. We've got a 3% increase last year, almost 6% increase in the governor's budget this year. So there is some effort in reestablishing their commitment to human capital.
All right, we'll come back, some more data and a little explanation. Interesting, stay with us. You know, at the risk of having a wonky show get a little wonkier, we're going to show you some data, but this stuff is important when it comes to evaluating Rhode Island's college performance, if you're with the Postsecondary Commissioner, of course. So let me put up some numbers, and Jim, can you narrate this for me? What does this mean right here?
Yeah, this is the amount of support that the state provides for higher education, and it really shows a trend where we sort of peaked around 1980, and as you recall, in Rhode Island, a lot of our industry went elsewhere at that point. So the state economy changed, and we really have never regained that effort to build human capital in this state.
That's a bad trend, isn't it?
It is a very bad trend.
Next slide. Let's see what else. This is what? This is
basically comparing the other states, and we're of the bottom 13. So rather than being a 13 colony, we're the lowest funded 13 for higher education. Of course, we're making improvements.
I think we got other graphics that kind of show this overall story. That arrow to the bottom on this graphic.
Yeah, since 1980, when we were at the peak, it's the 5th largest reduction in support. That's a big issue, and even now, as we look at our support from an annual basis, we're 4th from the bottom.
And I'm guessing everything else I have in
Just
terms
from
of
the
the data is telling the same story, right?
Yes,
Kev?
absolutely.
You got anything else there, Kevin, that kind of shows that? I'm guessing same thing, right? Same kind of trend.
1964 support for higher education in a modern century workforce is not going to make a big difference.
All right, so look, you've got all the data that shows the legislature and other political leadership that we're behind the 8 ball. What is your vision as a new guy in town? Do you kind of walk softly and try to easily cajole, or do you look at them and say, come on, get in the game and get funded? Which is your approach?
Well, it's both. Working with the campuses, helping them fine-tune their product and do that better. And there's some national organizations that have said how to do that better. They've got back in the game. We've committed to a Complete College Rhode Island initiative that really targets how we maximize our production of graduates and do it right and do it well in the right fields. And then our strategic plan is really targeted to some of the goals the governor has, which is to make sure that we provide the workers for our current workforce and identify the future workforce and identify workers for that.
I think we have a marketing problem when it comes to college education in the state. I think, and I've talked to Dr. Dooley about it and Nancy Cariullo about it, I think that we, in our self-deprecating disposition more than often, that Rhode Islanders don't realize what kind of assets we have, and growing those assets is really important to the economy. This whole connection between education and economy, while I know you get it, and I think I get it, most people don't put the connection together. And so nothing is going to shake and bake and change those graphics that you just showed me until there's a big political will. So I think it's not just talking with the heavies on Smith Hill. I think it's getting everybody in the state figuring out that these 2 places are cool.
Right.
Or 3 places are cool.
Right. And actually, we have a lot of people that go to college, they just don't complete. So we're trying to address that, get them to come back or to reconsider.
I mean, think big we do at URI. You know, people in Northern Rhode Island don't even know they're thinking big down there in Kingston, unless they got a kid there. Then they put a kid there and they go, holy cow, this is a hell of an education they got at URI. The rigor, the curriculum, the placement, the number of grads that get into the economy. But we don't tell our own story very well.
Right. And I think the other thing is we've actually done a lot of industry credentialing in this state. We just haven't done it in a manner that it's a credential that the rest of the world recognizes. And so when people look to come to Rhode Island, they don't see that. So I think we actually have people with some great skills, and we just need to make sure that we credential them both in vocational technical training and in college degrees.
The bottom line, people in Rhode Island are smart enough and tough enough, and people love them, right?
Absolutely.
All right. Even Louisiana guys?
Yes, sir. I love them. They're really good.
Bring any
people.
Cajun with you or anything? Or something?
Yeah, y'all don't do barbecue well, but there's other food that's good here.
I don't think that's fighting words, but there are a few barbecue places that are okay around here. Don't be a stranger. Come back. Let us know how the trends are going. Appreciate
Great.
it.
Thank you, sir.
Welcome to Rhode Island. A little late on my part. Final word when we come back. Stay with us. I really do think we have to do a better job at marketing how terrific our collegiate institutions are. Really, they're jewels. And if we knew it and we wanted more, we'd get more politically, which means we'd get more resources allocated. It's all about priorities. Hey, tomorrow we got an interesting conversation on the connection between graffiti and violence. Graffiti and violence. In other words, what does your environment say about how you're going to behave? That tomorrow here on Dan Yorke State of Mind. See you on the radio at noontime on WPRO. Thanks for watching. Good night.